And we're live everywhere. Fantastic. Amazing even. Let me zoom in a bit. Yeah. So Zoom not going to work? There we go. Good morning, everybody. Today is the 2nd of May. Finally, May. I've been waiting for May for a long time, like since last May. We're in the office. It's Monday. We were out yesterday because it was the Ontario Police Memorial. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But we've got lots to unpack. Maybe not that much packing. But we are going to start off with Vision Zero Enforcement Team. For those who don't know who and where and what they are, what they do, why do we keep talking about them? Well, they are fantastic. They are enforcement officers. They're a team that focus on changing driver behavior in the city of Toronto. They do it by issuing tickets. I know those unpopular things that nobody seems to want to get, but that we keep giving out. Why do we give them out? Because we're trying to change driver behavior. We know that the behaviors that they focus on, which are the big four, speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving, are the leading cause of serious injury and death on our roads. Simple as that. And by changing that driver behavior, we are trying to make them safer, the roads, for everyone. That's going to be your drivers, your pedestrians, your cyclists, your everybody who uses the bloody roadway. That's what it is. Well, we want to make sure the roadway isn't bloody. What can we say? We are currently, not we, but they, are spending their time enforcing the law in 32 Division and 41 Division. Those are the communities of the neighborhoods of Downsview, Willowdale, Newtonbrook, Bathurst Manor, Wexford, Maryville, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, and Birchmount. They're everywhere, but they're focused there. Now, there are officers across the city that are doing great work changing driver behavior one ticket at a time. But what we do, the Vision Zero Enforcement Team, I should say that without slurring it, because apparently I haven't spoken at all since last time I was on the air. What they do is they go where the big brain folks, the analytics, send them. We have stats that say where we should spend our time. So they are directed to those communities to help out. But again, officers across the city are doing great work to change driver behavior. And it's a good thing. If they weren't there, people might be doing things they shouldn't be. And today I posted a video just before we went live all about hurt feelings. Yes. If you're offended by me telling you shouldn't speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, or drive impaired, then you shouldn't be following me, because I'm going to tell you a lot about that. I basically talk about traffic safety all the time. Now, that's not all we talk about, because this show is all about dispelling rumors, explaining laws, answering questions that you have for us, because this is Ask a Traffic Cop. Now, if you have questions for me, please use the Q&A function on TikTok. That's the question mark in the bubble. That will get you to me so I can answer your questions. If you're on Instagram, because we're also simulcasting there, you can use the question mark function of Q&A to get to me there. If you are watching on any of the other platforms, because we're also on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, everybody but Twitter can talk to me. I say that with a smile. It's a sad smile. It's just becoming a joke. The interface for Restream and Twitter is not working ever since Twitter decided to change from Periscope into whatever the heck they're doing now. In any case, it doesn't work. So if you're watching on Twitter and you'd like to ask us questions, please move over. Come on over to YouTube. You can get us at Traffic Services Toronto Police. Subscribe there if you don't already subscribe there. You can also get us at Traffic Services on Twitch, Traffic Services on Facebook, basically Traffic Services anywhere. And if you're one of the few people who uses Instagram, you can get us at Traffic Services Toronto. What are we going to be talking about? Well, let's see. First question in the hopper after we say hello to Ryan Pinn, who says, good morning, Sean and Mods. Tracy Bell, who says, good morning, Sean and Q. Andrew McNaughton, who simply says, good morning. Tracy, who says, good day to everybody. And what else do we have here? Oh, and Ryan is offended by whose dangerous driving? By my dangerous driving? Ryan is upset with people who choose to dangerously drive. Thus, he's offended by their offense from being... I'm getting lost in a loop of offendedness. If you have hurt feelings, there is a form. I just don't know where to find it. Okay.
I have a question from chat.
Okay, what's the question from chat?
What's the specific charge for too many passengers, not enough seatbelts?
Well, let's talk about seatbelts. You have to. I'm filling up my water. There we go. That's one thing I didn't do prior to going live. The deal is that you have to occupy a seat that was designed to hold a passenger, and if the vehicle was manufactured after seatbelts became a law, they have to have a seatbelt. So if you are driving with more passengers, you can be drive while crowded. You could be, and the individuals who are over the age of 16 can be charged for occupy or failed to occupied seat with seatbelt. So that would probably be one way to go. Simply not wearing a seatbelt is one way to go, but that's if the seatbelt's there and you choose not to wear it. If you occupy a seat that doesn't have a seatbelt, that's a problem. If you're driving a classic car that didn't come with seatbelts, that's a different situation. If you were like a 60s vehicle, may not require, is it 60s? When did seatbelts become a law? It's early 70s? In any case, if you're in a vehicle that was manufactured when seatbelts weren't required, then you don't have to wear them. Doesn't mean it's safe, just means that you can't get a ticket for not wearing what was never there. Sebastian says, good morning. He's coming in from Facebook. And Chasey wants to know, what is the difference between a police service and a police department? Nothing. It's just a different word. 1976 is when seatbelts came in, really? I was born before seatbelts were a law. What does that mean? It means I'm old-ish. Okay. But that was the question from Walker. Let's move on to more questions. And I have a guest.
Good morning.
Sergeant Kulik, not Campbell. I got to get my name straight right in the morning. It's Monday. Things can happen on Monday. I can call people by the wrong name. Let's see here. What is safer for booster seat, driver or... What is safer for a booster seat, driver or... I don't know what the driver or where you're going with this, but a booster seat, not for a driver, but for a child under the age of 8, under 80 pounds and under 4'9". Actually, I shouldn't say it. Legally, that is those are the ages, sizes, and weights. Age, weight, and height for a passenger who no longer requires legally to be in a booster seat. For a driver who needs a booster seat, I don't know if that's a good. I don't know if that's a good plan. But the deal is that. I don't know what the deal is because I don't know what your question is. What is safer for a booster seat? I'm trying to unpack this and figure it out.
That's going.
Maybe you can rephrase it because I'm going down a rabbit hole that has no end.
Driver.
I'm sorry?
Behind passenger or behind driver?
Oh, I see what you're saying. But back seat, regardless, doesn't matter behind the driver or behind the passenger seat. We just say that rear seat until someone is at least 14 years old. So regardless of whether you're in a booster, a child restraint, or safety restraint of any kind, or even outside of it, you should be in the back seat until you are 14. Now, I appreciate that some people are taller, bigger, stronger than others. It doesn't matter. The experts say the back seat is safest. And because we care about you, we want you to be safe. Do you see insurance status when you run a plate? We do have access to certain information regarding insurance, but not a complete piece of information. We have a clue, but we still have to do verification, like calling your insurance company to get up to the date stats. We have information that may or may not be current. So we still investigate. You still have to prove that you have insurance by providing a slip or electronic version of that slip if your insurance provider has that as part of their process. For anyone who's watching and has no idea who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I go live on social media Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm so used to saying 9 to 10, even though we've been doing this for a couple of months now, the new time. Hopefully it's better for you. We had a vote. We put a poll out. And apparently, an overwhelming number of people said 10 o'clock was better. So that's what we do. If you've got questions, use the Q&A. If you don't already follow us, please do, because we'd love you as part of the community. Let's see what Instagram. There's a question here. It says, what is the funniest encounter when pulling someone over? Funniest encounter? I'm not entirely sure what the funniest encounter is. There have been some humorous ones. I've had some funny jokes. Like one person, it's an old joke, but someone actually used it on me. I pulled them over, and they said, "I'm sorry, I didn't stop right away. My wife ran away with a police officer, and I thought you were trying to bring her back." It was funny at the time, but I mean, I've heard that so many times now.
And always a lot of excuses, right? And a lot of people say, I have to go to the bathroom.
Everybody, when speeding, has to use the washroom.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, you're going to have to wait now.
Well, that's it.
Maybe you should have stopped sooner.
Well, there's stop sooner, but plan ahead. I mean, the line is that your poor planning does not equate to an emergency for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're a grown-up. You're responsible for a motor vehicle. Make good decisions. And everyone has emergencies or things that are highly urgent, but not truly an emergency. And
And at the end of the day, we can use discretion whenever we're speaking with somebody that we've pulled over. So,
It happens occasionally.
it does happen.
It's a good question. Is trimming the edges of your license plate illegal? Yeah. It's not your license plate, so modifying it in any way, shape, or form could actually get you arrested. There is a specific charge that's arrestable for even modifying it by way of putting things onto it. You put stickers on it, that's technically modifying it. Painting it to make it look better, modifying it, and it's an arrestable offense. So no, you cannot trim them. But I have seen people who have folded them, equally illegal. It's very creative and interesting things that people see fit to try and do to their.
I'm not sure why you want it to look like a decorative piece. It serves a purpose. It's there for a reason. And if, there's a corner broken off and you feel the need to break the other corner off, well, maybe just go and have them replaced.
That's the whole thing. 5-year warranty. If there's damage to it, just get it replaced at no cost. If you've damaged it or if it's outside of warranty, you might pay $52. But you'll save yourself the $110 that we would charge you if we came across it. And of course, if you were modifying it, that's more serious. I think that's seizure of plates. I think we take the plates at that point, in addition to whatever we arrest you for. And it doesn't have to be arrested. It just gives us the option of arresting you. Do sheriffs in Canada have any authority? They do carry out instructions from the courts. So they're the folks here that would change the locks on your doors so that you couldn't get in to the property because the courts ordered them to do it. I have not had any direct experience with them, but I know they exist and they are a provincial office.
Yeah, a lot of times they deal with evictions, seizure of vehicles, and stuff like that. But we generally don't deal with them.
No, not generally. They're not a policing function, but they do have authorities as peace officers.
Yeah.
I want to join the OPP. What are your thoughts on an OPP career? Policing in general is a fantastic career. I would endorse it. I like it. We're actually hiring as well. I think police services across the province and the country are hiring. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police, I can tell you where to get information about us, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers. And I imagine OPP.ca would do the same thing for you if you want information for them. But anywhere you go is a good place to go. Different types of policing. So, learn about the ins and outs and make sure you're volunteering. If you're interested in a volunteer career, you can become an auxiliary with either service. Maybe get an idea. Speak to officers who are working for those services, whatever services you're looking at, and get an idea of how they operate so you can know if it's a good fit for you. What about exhaust on a vehicle? How does that work? Well, the gas. No, technically, how does an exhaust system work? We can't get into that because I'm not qualified to talk about it. But I do know that it muffles sound as part of it, and it's required by law. So if you don't have a muffler, you're going to get a ticket for improper or no muffler. Additionally, you're eligible for a charge under the Highway Traffic Act for unnecessary noise because mufflers that aren't there don't muffle. It's amazing how that works. But if you had technical questions about it, that's not my thing. Can we keep our personalized license plates outside of Ontario, and for how long? So if you're visiting, if you're traveling, if you're driving around, you're eligible to drive around with your licensed vehicle from Ontario. But different rules in different provinces. For instance, if you go to Quebec and you're going to school there, they don't really care if you change to a Quebec plate. But if you come to Ontario with a Quebec plate, once after becoming a resident here, you have to actually switch your plates within. It's 60 days for your driver's license and 30 days, I think, for your plates, or vice versa. In any case, there are rules, and it depends on where you are taking up residence.
Check the Ministry of Transportation in whatever province.
Absolutely. Yeah, you need to check with your authorities because we talk about Ontario all the time, but it depends on where you're at. What do we have here?
Have you had breakfast?
Who? Spam? I'm not interested in spam. So if you're in here spamming, please stop. No one's interested in what you're selling. May is Motorcycle Awareness Month. It is. And Sergeant Kraft says, is it? But it is. And he knows X. It's a loaded question. The truth is that we will be seeing more and more motorcycles hit the road in our province and across Canada and the United States. So welcome the two-wheeled friends to the road. Pay attention. Please look twice to save a life. Things that you are not used to seeing in your rearview mirror are going to be there now. So They are vulnerable road users, whether you like the sounds of their motorcycles or not, and involving yourself in a collision with them may lead to killing them. So please be kind to motorcycle riders. And motorcycle riders, if you're out there and you're listening, please drive responsibly. Please drive within the speed limit. Please don't wake people up at night, because guess what? They don't like it. And we get tons of complaints. And enforcement for noise violations, you'll notice, is going to be up. So if you don't want to be pulled over and charged for having improper exhaust on your motorcycle, maybe don't have improper exhaust on your motorcycle. Let's see here. We have T.J. Anderson says, was there a batch of license plates, not including the 3M ones, that were defective and can be exchanged regardless of the 5-year warranty? It's a great question. And B-Series plates were acknowledged as being defective. And we have been hearing of people exchanging those well beyond the 5 years. I think we're at 7+ years now, and they're still being, to this day, exchanged at no cost. If someone tells you that they are now charging for them, you might want to try a different ministry location or call ahead, because my understanding is they should not be charged. Are Toronto police cars going electric soon? I have no information about that. I don't even know if we're testing plug-in electrics, but I imagine that the entire planet is going to be going electric at some point. I just don't know how reasonable it is for us. Our cars run 24/7. To take a vehicle out of circulation to charge it would mean we'd need twice as many vehicles, because like I said, our vehicles run 24/7. A police officer comes in to finish their shift, and there's somebody waiting from the next shift to take the keys and keep it going, which means you always have a warm seat, because they just don't hang out. Do you prefer to study criminology to enter police foundations? Any education is good education. There's no guarantee that one will win over another, but a university degree definitely carries weight. Okay. So good luck to you on your career in policing, but definitely check out the careers page, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers, to get more information about what the requirements are. And if you can meet those requirements now, there's nothing to say you shouldn't apply right now. You could always continue your education later, but I'm not telling you to drop out of school. Just getting hired when we're hiring is a really good thing.
And it's a great career. There's both Sean and I have had really rewarding portions of our career, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So if you're thinking about it, reach out to anybody who's an officer, stop one on the street, ask them what they've done in their career, because especially with Toronto, the opportunities are endless here. From traffic to undercover work to dogs to canine to all kinds of different things. So yes, you have to do your time on the road, but there's lots of opportunities. So there's not a lot of other careers out there that gives you the opportunity to do so many different things.
Yeah, every time you come in, not only, even if you were to stay a divisional officer at one division, every single day is going to be different. But because you have the opportunity to take on different roles, different specialties, for instance, traffic. I started in 12th Division, and I am now a traffic officer and have been for many years, but I specialized and have directed my efforts there. Now, if you go back further, I was a court officer. I was in an entirely different area of the police service doing other important work, but I was able to change and get into something else. So we have officers who start as parking enforcement officers, clerks. We have so many different jobs, and you don't have to be a member of our uniform branch. You could get involved in working as a clerk, administrative work, technical.
IT.
I just saw a posting for IT. Yeah, tons and tons of different opportunities. Q just put up a post that says, "Boop the snoop and share the live." Please, if you don't mind, hit that screen until your fingers go numb if you're on Instagram and TikTok. That helps the algorithm know that you like what you see. If you share it personally to friends, people that you think might be interested, that is an even bigger endorsement of what we do here, which is trying to answer your traffic and police questions. If you are on YouTube and you don't have a touch screen, please don't touch your screen, but do subscribe to us and please share it on social media on whatever platform you're watching. We've got folks watching on YouTube, Facebook, and we have folks on our Twitch accounts. So really appreciate everyone who's spending time with us, and we have so many folks who are regulars, that come here every day and interact with us. And it's you who determine the value and the of each episode by asking us questions that are important. The only time we don't want to hear from folks is when they're spamming us. And I mean that nice. You may really be excited about the question that you're asking, but when you ask it 50 times, you're actually pushing other people out of the way, and it's rude. Not everybody knows it's rude to inundate us with the same question 76 times. I don't know why it's I think it's an obvious thing. Not everybody does. Okay. What is the legal height to lower a car? We've been told that mechanics legally can reduce the height by 1.5 inches. Police don't really care. And I say they don't care not because we don't care how low your car is. We don't care about the 1.5 from factory because we have no idea what factory is. We look at a vehicle and look for clearance to the ground. If there's contact to the ground when the suspension is compressed, we look at whether there's body contact or frame contact when the steering is lock to lock or compressed. Those are the things that we use to determine whether a vehicle is safe or not. Safe or not, and we'll pull your plates if it's unsafe. That doesn't mean that a mechanic would not find it unsafe sooner, but those are the clues that we as regular street cops would look at. Let's see here. Can you show your insurance through the app? If you have an app for your insurance, then yes, legally in Ontario, you can now provide your insurance by way of the app. If there is no app from your insurance company, then no, you cannot. You still need the pink slip. We got the TPS careers on TikTok for a second as I flip over to Instagram to see what kind of questions we've got there. Any good OACP training tests, reading material, or suggestions? I can tell you what I did for my testing way back when is there's a mathematics component and speed is an issue. So I went and took tutoring for like grade 7 math. I bought all the drill books for grade school math and I just went through them because I wanted to increase my speed. The more speed I could shave off of my testing for math meant I had more time for other portions of the test. Now the testing's changed considerably since I joined up originally. So anything you could do, I think that tutoring is great because again, I was out of school for so long. It made sense to invest in my in getting the best. Now there was a company that I don't remember or even know if they're still in business. There was like Police Prep or something. They had a website and you could go and do practice tests there, and it was I think $100 a year. I did that as well.
And if you're really interested, contact our career section and ask them that. And they may have some inside information as to maybe what you should be looking at or studying more because things do change
Absolutely.
year to year. So, give them a call.
I think that's a great idea. And we have recruiters. If you're interested, make sure you ask all the questions you can possibly ask. Study the service that you want to join. And also tick off all the boxes. Make sure you're volunteering in the community. If you want to serve a community, make sure you're contributing to it. You shouldn't be coming to this job applying, having done nothing to prepare yourself or make yourself a good candidate. It's not just about passing a test and joining. It's about being part of the community. And also driving is a huge component of policing. Not only do you have to have your full G license, but you have to have a good driving record. If you don't follow the rules of the road, how could you be trusted to enforce the rules of the road? So that is something that many people don't take into consideration, but it's important. Let's see here. Swerving between cars at low speed. Swerving does not suggest safety in that word. That's something that I would pull someone over for, and it may become a stunt driving charge. It may become because if it's combined with a marked departure in speed, you're driving faster, swerving through traffic. If you're just swerving, you might be impaired. Either way, I'm pulling you over if you're doing it because it sounds ridiculous. But I don't know the context of what you are asking. But let's move on. What's too old to become an officer? I'm 34. Well, I went from court supervisor to police constable in training or cadet in training at 38. So, you're not too old. There was somebody 52 in my class.
Yeah.
So there's no too old. If you can pass the requirements, I don't think there's a cutoff anymore for being hired.
No, you just have to be able to be physically fit, be able to work shift work. It's a demanding job. So make sure, no matter what age you are, whether you're 19 or you're 50, that you look into the requirements. And if you can do it, then why not?
Absolutely. Let's go into this one on Instagram. This is from Tafari. Laws on colored window tint and tinted plate covers, the common ones you see. So the deal is with colored tint, you can have colored tint. You just can't have it darker than 30% light blockage. It's about how much light can get through. No tint can go on the front windshield, save and except for vehicles that are manufactured before 2017. They can have a 3-inch or 75 millimeter tint strip across the top. That's it. That's all. Reflective tint is not permitted at all. And colored or smoked or reflective or any kind of cover on a license plate, not permitted at all. So two separate things there, but You can't tint your plates because it obstructs or obscures our ability to see it. You can't obscure the interior of your vehicle. We've got to be able to see in, so it can't be too dark. And of course, you've got to be able to see out, because safety and seeing where you're going, kind of important. Even if you say, well, why does it matter if it's dark? Well, people have to be able to see and to communicate non-verbally with the driver. And when it's dark out and it's too dark to see efficiently, and I say that because certain amounts of light allow you to see more easily. It's important. Seeing is important. Not hitting pedestrians, important. Can you right turn on a red light with a red light camera? That's a good question. And the answer is yes, you can. You must turn right but only after coming to a complete stop and waiting till it's safe to continue. So if you don't stop when you make a right turn on a red, you've run the red. Turning doesn't absolve you of that. The law says you must turn right only, or you may turn right only after coming to a complete stop and ensuring it's safe to do so. We got questions. Sebastian says, the exhaust on my Honda is sticking out of the hood. I haven't brought it out on the road as of yet, but it is quiet. Will it be an issue? So is the exhaust port on the hood, like the exhaust comes out of the hood instead of going to the back of the vehicle? That's going to be an issue. I don't think you can do that. I'd have to confirm with my high-tech traffic guys who know the exhaust stuff, and one of those would be Sergeant Campbell. He's all about that. But my understanding is if the fumes from your exhaust can enter the cabin, or if it's close to an airbox, could be an issue. Don't quote me on it, but it might be an issue. I don't know what you have. Oh, yeah, so Sebastian's confirming, yes, it actually exits from the hood. I'll have to get back to you on that. Maybe you send me a DM on Facebook and we can look into it further. But my understanding is there's an issue of where you are expelling your fumes, because it could create an issue for people inside the vehicle. But that's all I got for you right now, without getting confirmation from someone who knows more than me about exhaust systems. Okay. We talked about how low is too low. Can you speed when passing in the oncoming lane? No, you're never allowed to speed. That's why they call it a limit. It's the maximum speed you're allowed to travel on the roadway. No, there's no. What you should not do is pass if you can't do it safely. There's no excuse to hammer that down and take off after anybody. There's no. You can't if you have to go to the bathroom. You can't if you have to get to work on time. You can't speed if you're having a baby. You can't speed if you got a paper cut. You can't. Any other can't speed. There's no reason to speed ever. So the question about modifying exhaust, how does that work? You have to maintain the rules around having an exhaust. So you can't cut the muffler out. You can't cut the resonator out. You can't make it louder beyond that of what the legal limit is. 74 decibels at idle, I believe, is the maximum noise generated. But here's the deal. Regardless of what you do to your exhaust system, you could have a stock, brand new Honda Civic. It's my go-to car whenever I talk about exhaust. And you can drive it like a numpty and create so much noise that you're going to get an unnecessary noise ticket. You can't drive around in first gear at 9,000 RPM. It is going to be an issue, and that is going to be generating too much noise. But you can't honk your horn or play your stereo out either. So there's a bunch of different things. Whatever you do to modify your exhaust, make sure it's legal. Talk to a trusted mechanic who actually cares about the law. Some don't, and don't do things yourself. I mean, at least not without verifying that they're legal. Because sadly, what happens is you get tickets, and then nobody likes those. Are transports liable for any rocks they kick up? Within reason, but you need to be able to determine where it came from. Problem is, when you have trucks all over the road, you may not know where the damage or what vehicle was responsible for it. Obviously, they're responsible for any damage caused by stuff that falls off their vehicle. Definitely, they're responsible for that. Dash cameras are really great for that, because it helps you go back and identify with things like license plates. Because I would never know. I cannot memorize every plate of every vehicle in front of me on an ongoing basis. And when you hear that ka-tink and you look at your windshield and you realize that something's happened, it's usually too late. Okay. Can you get, what is this? Can you get OPP on your live for airspeed patrol questions? There isn't anybody right now that's doing TikTok or live streaming really on the internet. We do have Sergeant Kerry Schmidt, who's a friend of ours, and he does do some Vimeo stuff and occasionally live streams from the road. But I don't think he does Q&A sessions like this. If we can get him on as a guest, we'll have to bring him back and do an episode with him, because I saw him yesterday. He waved as he drove by. But yeah, he can't go on TikTok right now. Oh, and Q thinks that she saw him on the 400. In any case, what kind of questions do you have about air speed patrol? I'd love to know what you want to know about it. So if I see him or talk to him, I can ask and be ready for your question next time. This is a good question for Sergeant Kulik. What's the worst sob story or excuse you've ever heard?
There's been so many.
How do you keep track even?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's been 27 years, so a lot of excuses over the years. I don't know about sob stories. Like, you pull people over, and some people do legitimately have sad stories. Like they're on the way to the hospital because a family member has been hurt or is sick. And it does pull at your heartstrings a little bit. And again, that's how we can use discretion. But I don't know. There's so many things over the years that people have said and done.
There's a great College Humor skit, and if you search College Humor cop ticket, I'm sure you'll find it. But it basically has a guy who was speeding, gets pulled over by an officer, and says, "I'm running to the hospital because my wife's having a baby." So he says, "Okay, well, we'll take you to the hospital." And he gets into the lobby and he says, "Are there any expectant mothers who don't have fathers in the picture?" And she says, "Yeah." He says, "Good." And he goes to help a woman out of one room, and he says, "Pretend I'm trying to get out of a ticket. Pretend that it's mine." And of course, the officer just never leaves. It's a long. I won't ruin it for you. It's funny. So I've heard some stories. I've heard stories that broke my heart, and I believed. And if they were lying to me, they were really, really good actors. Yeah. And if they were not lying to me, then they deserved to get the help that they got.
I did have one, this is many years ago, that said they were speeding because their speedometer didn't work. So they had no idea how fast they were going.
Oh,
yeah, but which led to a whole other slew of issues.
Yes. That's
but kind of funny at the same time.
Not a good excuse.
No.
My vehicle's totally unsafe. That's why the brakes don't work. That's why I couldn't slow down. Yeah, I've heard all sorts of funny, not so funny things. Can I provide my photo off my phone? No. Your driver's license must be surrendered to a police officer for reasonable inspection and to their satisfaction. But it must be the actual card. In Ontario, we don't have electronic versions, and photos simply don't cut it. Let's see here. Fun fact: horse sleigh must have more than one bell. Yes, there's a law. There are laws surrounding sleigh bells and such. I was asked to do a video. Was it you who asked me to do a video? Yeah, we got to talk about it. I think that's really important. Sleigh bells and yeah, maybe we'll save that for Christmas though.
There are a lot of interesting charges in the Highway Traffic Act. If you take the time to go through, and stuff that's like archaic that you didn't even know existed, and you look at it and it's like, oh, I guess it's been the laws forever and it's still on the books.
Oh yeah. There's stuff in Toronto, the Toronto books about, taking a dead horse up at Yonge Street on weekends. Like some really weird stuff. Yeah. You'd think they'd take it out, but no, it's not. I think it takes more work and energy to remove something than just leave it in there. It doesn't affect anybody. Does getting a G erase tickets that you got when you had a G2? The simple answer is no. Your driving record is one driving record from the day, even before you're licensed. If you got a ticket for driving unlicensed before your license was ever achieved, it's still part of your lifetime abstract. We would see it, even if insurance companies can't. So whether you have a G1, G2, or G, anything that you accrue or generate is going to be with you forever. Now, granted, when an insurance company looks, they get to see your current, so 3 years. But we see everything.
So if an officer asks you, have you ever been stopped for speeding before? And no, sir, no, I haven't. And we see that you've been stopped 6 times and charged.
Yeah.
Right? So
Don't lie.
Don't lie.
We ask questions we know the answer to.
We'd rather you be upfront with us.
But it's a test. we literally know the answer to questions.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, we know the answer. We're trying to find out if you are being honest. And that's a bit of an exaggeration. Sometimes we're asking you questions like, where are you going? We don't know that. We don't know where that. Thoughts on modified cars on the road? Modified does not necessarily mean unsafe or illegal, and I think that people should make vehicles that make them happy and customize things so that they're happy. As long as it's done safely and legally, I've got no issue with it at all. I'm a car guy. That's how I got into traffic. I'm a motorcycle guy too, so I appreciate all these things. Many of the people in this building that I work with are car enthusiasts. Whether they race on weekends or they just have an appreciation for motor vehicles. It's not just about enforcing roads or rules, I should say. It is, however, making sure people are safe. Okay, how low is too low? We talked about that already. If you don't know who I am and you're watching here going, what is this bald guy doing on my TikTok? My name is Sean Shapiro, and I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. We answer your traffic and police questions Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you don't already follow us, please do. But if you are watching us, please tap that screen and tell the algorithm that you like us. If you're watching on Instagram, please do the same. If you're watching on any of the other platforms like YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, please share and retweet and whatnot, whatever you can do. We're trying to get more people in here, not because we make money. There's no free toaster. We don't even care about followers other than we want to find people who want to hear what we have to say, which is answers to your questions. It's a show all about you. What requirements do I need to get into police foundations? That's a really good question. And the answer is I have no idea, because that is a private school that is determining what their program is. Police foundations isn't a police course. So that is that. We have someone with noisy pants. I don't know who that could be. Hi, Erin. How you doing?
Hello.
Bicycle pants make noise,
Yeah.
but they're waterproof, so it's worth it.
They're more comfortable.
Can you cross a border with a G2? That's not what I selected one question, I got a different one. So let's start with the one that I wanted to press, but it didn't work. Can I cross the border with a G2? Yes, you can. You must follow all of the conditions for your license, but it is valid in other provinces and in the United States. It's considered a probationary license, so there are terms and conditions, but if you follow them, you're good to go. Now, the second question, the question that accidentally got pulled up, is do window tint tickets affect driving records? It is a ticket, not a moving violation, but a charge. Is it a moving violation? No, it's not based on your driving. So it may or may not impact your insurance because they determine what impacts their rates. Driving a vehicle that is unsafe based on your customizing could cause them to determine you need to pay more insurance. That's up to them. But it's not a moving violation. It's not based on how you operate the motor vehicle. It's just unsafe. Now, if your vehicle is so dark that it is deemed to be unsafe, we're taking your license plates. We're going to, charge you appropriately. It really depends on what offense is you're being charged with. Someone's saying hello to somebody else loudly.
And remember too, you can, maybe not for tint stuff, but if you're modifying your vehicle in some way, you can contact your insurance company and ask, because they may not insure you if something happens and they don't know about it. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you follow whatever the rules are that your insurance company has in place too.
That's a really good point. There was a guy that was on the news. He had changed his exhaust system and was involved in a collision, and as a result, they chose not to insure his vehicle at all because he had modified it from what they agreed to insure. And some people just don't think about the fact that the insurance company is entering into a contract with you, and they have rules. And if you say that you've got an ABC 123, but when they come to inspect it at the result or after a collision, and they see it is not what they said they were insuring, yeah, you're in trouble. And in trouble from the perspective of they are not going to pay you, and that could really stink.
Yeah.
Do
your homework.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would suggest being upright and upfront
Forthright?
and honest with your insurance company, because when you need money most in the event of a collision, replacing that vehicle that you rely on to get to work, to get to school, to live life, not getting that replaced could be horrible over something as silly as just calling them and maybe paying a few bucks extra. What's your favorite car? Police car or car in general? I like so many of them. Problem is, many of the vehicles I like, I can't physically fit into. I'm 6'5", and it doesn't work. Like I like Porsches. I've driven Porsches. Porsches don't like me. I've crammed my butt into them just so I could test drive them, but no. Even being a passenger, a friend of mine's got a Pan America. I think that's the 4-door car. Beautiful car. Yeah, it's not made for me.
Whereas I'm tiny, and I love my big F-150s.
Yes, I drive a full-size vehicle because it's the most comfortable, not because I like paying for gas. Let's see here. Tire fall off on road, no fault of your own. My fault? Is it your tire that fell off or somebody else's tire? Obviously, if it's somebody else's tire that came off of their vehicle and hit you, that's their fault. They did not maintain their vehicle safely. They're responsible for what happens to other vehicles as a result of damage or improper maintenance of their vehicle. That's an obvious one. If your car has a tire that falls off, it's your fault. It may not be the fault of the driver driving. It may not be driving behavior that resulted in the failure. However, when that tire comes off, it's because your vehicle failed. Now, if you can prove, and I would assume we're going to look at it mechanically, why it came off, and it was determined that it was a defective part, then the manufacturer is going to be faulted and not you. But it becomes more complicated at that point.
Do your due diligence and do circle checks, right? Every once in a while, take a look around. You don't want to be driving around with a flat tire or somebody pointing that out to you when you're already on the road. So take a look at that, and you know what? Nobody wants anything to happen to anybody out there, and yeah.
And just because, you may not, I reintroduced myself recently, but I don't think I introduced Sergeant Kulik recently. Sergeant Kulik is the sergeant in charge of the office that we're in and comes onto the show regularly to talk about stuff and things, because that's what we do here. And then Stuff and things. And Aaron Urquhart is a parking enforcement officer, also working out of the Traffic Safety Programs office as a media relations officer and TikTok star. You can get her at TPS_bikehart. And Aaron, what's cooking?
Not much. I actually going to do a little self-promotion here on my new video. I'm hoping people go and see it because I worked hard on editing it. And it was like a little vlog of my patrol day on Friday, and I did like
with the bicycle boxing and people want to be you?
Yeah.
I saw that video.
I had my Strava app on to measure how far I rode all day in terms of, so it's like a little nice inside of my day. So.
Did people harass you and say, how do you get paid to exercise on a bicycle?
No, actually, it's the opposite. People are like, you need an e-bike. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like a lot of, I'm sure like people are asking when are we going to switch to electric police vehicles, and then now they're asking like, when are you guys going to get e-bikes? And they're not functional for what we do, and I don't need an e-bike, and I enjoy the pedal power.
You get around, and it's exercise.
Exactly.
You get a built-in workout every day.
Yeah.
That would be great. I could have poutine and still, justify my eating up a poutine.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a great.
We all love poutine.
I'm back on being good. I yesterday at the police memorial, we had breakfast that I helped out by bringing setting up tents and booths, and we had breakfast sandwiches and coffee for officers that were attending, and they weren't eating them fast enough, so I had to help them out. But now I can't have any bread for a year. Okay, do Quebec tickets show up on Ontario police system? So if you are driving in any province in Ontario, any province in Canada, and even in some states, there's something called a reciprocal agreement. Those points would be awarded to your driver's license from Ontario. Equally, we would be able to see tickets that are issued against you. There are some states that don't report back, but they would arrest you if you didn't pay a ticket there. It's at the end of the day, assume that we see everything, and if we don't, you're lucky, but assume that we do, because 9 times out of 10 in this information age, we do actually see everything. And if you're suspended somewhere else, you're suspended here. Can an off-duty officer get a ticket if she or he gets pulled over for speeding? So we often talk about speeding, and speeding is something that as a police officer on duty in the lawful execution of those duties in a police vehicle, you're permitted to legally exceed the speed limit. It's part of what you're doing. There's a reason for it. If you're speeding in your personal vehicle, can you get a ticket? Yeah, you can. Now, we often hear, and I'm sure this is leading up to the question of professional courtesy or getting a break or someone giving a warning. We are just as eligible for a warning as any member of the public. That decision of an officer who stops you to give somebody a warning or whether it be printed or verbal, it's the same for everybody. And I gave warnings for civilians as well. So, it's just what it is. Very often, we do find that some police services charge other police services. Sometimes it's just what it is. No one should be speeding unless they're doing something lawfully, and the lawful execution of their duties is the only time that we're legally allowed to speed. I'm 6'10", you're 6'5". How do you deal in a police car? Uncomfortable is what I deal. My favorite vehicle for on-duty police work was a police motorcycle. Is where I was most comfortable because, well, I wasn't in a car. Now, the Ford Taurus, which thankfully doesn't exist anymore, at least not new, and we only have a few of those left, I don't fit into at all. It was pathetic for me to try and get in and out of that vehicle. Quite comical. I wish I had video proof of it. But we do have some full-size vehicles, and if you were just too big to fit in any of the vehicles, I'm sure they would have to find something that worked for you. I know York Regional Police, they will give you a full-size SUV, and if you can't find an SUV, you ride a desk. There's some things there for officer safety. They just can't fold someone safely inside of a police car. There you go. Parking TPS and TPS_bike cart. Q has put the links onto the TikTok for those who are looking. Let's see here. Question on Instagram of how long does a warning last? Warnings kind of last forever. They are not something that attaches to your driver's license. They're in the computer system of the police service that issues them, and we will see them. So if we give you a warning for speeding and we say don't do it again, or we'll know, we really will. We'll know forever. It's probably 25 years until there's any kind of purge, maybe even longer. Is it forever now, Sarge, or is it?
I think it lasts forever. Yeah, but
I think so, unless we run out of hard drive space.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a warning, and that's something that doesn't affect your driver's license or insurance, but it certainly should be seriously taken into consideration when you drive. Everything you do as you drive, it's not a game. It's something that you should consider real and forever, because it is. And that's not where I was going with this. I was basically saying that, you should change the way you drive and follow the rules. What is this? When will the PTC license will be open for drivers to, I don't know public vehicle license will be open? I don't know anything about this. Because I don't know exactly what you're asking. So I will continue along, and maybe you can rephrase the question so I can make out what you're looking for. How does one pull over a cop violating the law? Christian wants to know. Well, you don't. If you want to make a complaint about that officer, you can certainly do that. There is a process. You can call it in. You can attend a police station and make a report. There's the OIPRD where you can make a complaint, but you don't pull over police. That doesn't happen. But it depends on what you think is violating the law. Police officers are legally allowed to exceed the speed limit in a marked police car, or in a police car, even if it's unmarked. They are legally permitted to do so. There's an exemption under the Highway Traffic Act. If you're talking about using their cell phone or their computer or their police radio, they are covered by an exemption under the Highway Traffic Act for using those things. So are any operators of police vehicles and ambulance and fire. So it depends on what your motivations are. But you don't pull police over. Would you add anything to that, Sarge?
Yeah, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, just because we don't have our lights and sirens on, and ambulance, same goes for paramedics as well. They can go to calls that are high priority, but not priority enough to warrant their lights and sirens. So they may be speeding to a call because someone needs their help. Well, we're no different. We may be going to a call to assist a citizen, but it doesn't necessitate putting our lights on. So that could be the reason for us speeding, or whatever you might see that's an infraction.
But you can always make a report if that's what you feel strongly about. Make the report; it'll be investigated, and if there's a reason to take action, then the supervisor who's making that investigation will do it. Obviously, real complaints and real issues are dealt with. We're the most highly scrutinized profession on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And if you make a complaint, it will be looked at. I will say this: it is often safer for police, fire, and ambulance to operate at above the speed limit without activating their lights and sirens, even at the speed limit. Just because it's an emergency, lights don't make it safer for us. People do some wild and crazy things because they may think that we're looking for them, trying to stop them. I've had people stop in the middle of a live lane of traffic, not pulling over because they didn't know what to do. They got scared. So that is one of the many reasons we don't always activate the lights unless we absolutely need to. It's for traffic clearing or if we're going through a signalized intersection against the signal. Those are pretty much the times when we have to do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Is lane cutting in a motorcycle illegal? If you're in a motorcycle, you got questions. I don't know how you get in a motorcycle, but the deal is that if you are lane cutting, you mean splitting, going between two marked lanes? Yeah, it's not permitted in Ontario. That's going to look like a charge of careless driving in most cases.
Sean, I have a quick question.
Quick
for
questions,
you.
go for it.
Just because I witnessed this on Sunday, it was crazy downtown. I guess for the police memorial and all the stuff that was going on. So everywhere was gridlock around Liberty Village, and I was in the gridlock. So I was just around the corner on, the street, Temple and Tyndall over there, just a side street off of Dufferin. Anyways,
Okay.
It's a two-way street with parking on the side, and I want to say your word, some bozo drove, he was like, oh, I'm not going to wait in this line because it was so backed up. He drove the wrong way up the street all the way to the stop sign. So now if another car was turning, it's going to be like a head-on collision.
Oh, my.
What would the charge be for that? Like multiple?
So this is a one-way street?
Sorry, it was a two-way street. So line of traffic is here, and then the other, direction would be going this way. This guy skipped the line, went the wrong way on the other side of the street.
Drove straight down oncoming traffic.
Exactly. And because it was clear at the time, but then a car came in and then no one wanted to let him in because they're like, what are you doing? Yeah. So he
was a really nice person.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares about his community
just so
and his peers.
considerate. Oh, it was just so lovely to see.
See, passing more than one vehicle at a time is a problem. I'd have to look up the specific charge. It doesn't happen very often because there are fewer bozos on the street than you might think.
Yeah, that was like, wow, I couldn't believe that.
But
I
I might even go by way of careless driving. I'd have to see the environment and see what kind of risk was put out.
Because a car did end up turning, and then it was stuck, and then and eventually he did get to the top of the line because someone was like, I have to let this guy in because now there's a car here.
No parking tags that were applicable?
Oh, no. I was off duty. I was actually dropping off my partner here for work. But, I wish I had my tag book there for double parking.
I'm trying to think of what would be the best. And there's so many options, but a careless, that's something that is undue care and control. You're doing something that's obviously high risk.
Yeah.
But it's not specifically against the law to drive into oncoming traffic if there's no traffic there. But now the point where the other driver was coming, but there is a issue with passing more than one vehicle. It's an unsafe.
And I don't know if there was an actual there was painted lines either because it's one of those residential streets in Old Toronto. I don't know. But anyways, I was very angry.
I'm gonna have to circle back and look at that. But
okay.
I have a question here from Legend of Fashula, I don't know what his name is. How can I speed responsibly? The only way to speed responsibly is not speeding, because as soon as you've exceeded the speed limit, you are breaking the law. There's no legal or responsible way to do it.
Or buy yourself a day at the racetrack.
That is speed
right?
That is the perfect answer. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Now I'm annoyed. If you're going to speed or you want to go fast, you want to get that thrill, either take it to the track or go-karting. That is the most fun you can have, as far as I'm concerned.
Lots of options out there that aren't on our highways.
Thank you. And or skydiving. Is that speeding? You're just rushing to the ground faster. That's really great. Oh, I'm annoyed that I didn't think of that.
Extra point?
Yes,
Sergeant
points to the
Coolidge.
Sarge. Okay, we covered this whole traveling question of stuff and things. Does being stopped with no ticket go on your record? And again, I press one button. The question that showed up is what bothers you as an officer? And I can tell you it's when I press one question and then the wrong one shows up. But we'll circle back. The question that I had intended to answer, I've already forgotten what it is. What is it? I read it and then it disappeared. Hold on a second. But what bothers me, people who are selfish and don't like for instance the driver that Aaron was just talking about. The fact that somebody thinks that they're more important than everybody else on the road, puts everybody else at in harm's way because they got somewhere to go. That bothers me. That really bothers me. Now I can't find it. I can't find the question that I've already, as I got frustrated with TikTok's technology issues. Whatever I put up on the said I was gonna. Okay, no, it's gonna be still here. Here we go. Here it is. That's the question, and I went looking for the already answered questions, but it never got selected. So All right, here we go. Does being stopped with no ticket go on your record? That was the one I meant to pick, and that's what I've picked now. So the answer is, if you are stopped and there is no charge laid and no warning issued, then there's really no record. I mean, there'd be a vehicle stop that might flag your vehicle, but it's not going to be anything negative. There'll be no report done because of it. I suppose if we really wanted to dig down, that potentially there'd be a record of it being stopped, but that's it, or that we ran your plate.
Yeah.
But nothing that would be filed or organized in any normal way that I'm aware of. Do you think that community policing is important? We're doing it right now.
Absolutely.
We are doing it right now. This is community policing. This is allowing you to get answers to questions you need to interact with police and parking enforcement, and that's exactly what we're doing. So I think it's in tremendous importance.
It's huge in our communities, and it gets people working together. It gets members of society working with the police to make our communities safer. And we want to hear the voices of those that live in the areas that we police, and they also want to hear from us. And if we all work together, it's teamwork, we can accomplish a lot of great things. So yeah, and especially stuff like our neighborhood officer program. Those officers are embedded in communities for a minimum of 5 years.
Wow.
And they get to know the residents. They're dealing with people every day out there, and it's an amazing thing. It really you get to know everybody, and I just think it's so good. We're turning a corner, that's for sure. Is there work still to be done? Absolutely, but we're doing it.
It's teamwork to make the dream work.
Yeah.
Do some officers turn on the lights to pass a light? So you get to an intersection, it's a red signal. Do they turn on their emergency equipment to go through? Yes, because it's a requirement under law for us to do that. So we had talked a few moments ago about exceeding the speed limit. Sometimes we're going to an emergency. We don't have our lights and sirens on because it's safer. And then when we get to a red light, we have to turn those on at that point to get through the intersection. We get to the other side of the intersection, we disable them or turn it off again and continue about our way because we're obligated to get through that intersection by the HTA to do that. But that doesn't mean it's not an emergency. It doesn't mean we're just trying to get home fast. It's why we're doing it, because it's safer that way and because there's requirements. We just lost Instagram because we only have an hour on Instagram, and that hour is up, which means we're winding down the show and going to be saying goodbye soon. But let's pick a couple of good questions to wrap things up with. What do we got here? Thoughts on interior emergency lights for volunteer firefighters? Are you talking about the green lights and should they be there? I think that volunteer firefighters are doing a tremendous service to their communities. If I had a volunteer firefighter station in my community, I would volunteer because I think helping your fellow neighbor, your community where there isn't a full-time service or can't justify one is amazing. So what do I think about having the lights? Well, I think that they serve a very valuable purpose of getting people out of the way. Now, it's not against the law to ignore a volunteer firefighter. It's just not something that I think is morally acceptable.
At the end of the day, they're heading to an emergency situation. So, do what's right and let them through.
Yeah, and there's always the question of, are they doing it are they abusing it? Well, no one should abuse it. And I'm sure there are people who have abused it. And I will side on the concept that we're going to assume they're doing the right thing for the right reasons, because 9 times out of 10, they probably are. I'd probably say it's either higher stats than that. But I don't want to get into strange math to come up with a good one. What are the steps to drive a motorcycle in Toronto? 1, get a motorcycle license. 2, get a motorcycle, then ride it. There's no real steps other than getting licensed. And it's not different in Toronto as it would be anywhere else. It's an Ontario thing. You have to get your M1, which is your temporary motorcycle or your learner's permit. It's good for, I believe, 70 days, during which time you can only ride half hour before sunup and a half hour after sundown. You cannot go on any highways. You cannot have any passengers. But once you have either taken a course or taken your M2, then you can ride at any time. Essentially, all the only restrictions are that you can have 0 BAC, which are also the same for any of the graduated permits. While you're a young driver or a what is it called? What's the term I'm looking for?
Novice.
Novice. That's you got 2 points for the Sarge. Okay. We got a bunch of questions about high vehicles. 3 inches is the maximum you can lift your vehicle. There are some additional things that are that come into play with what's authorized and what's not. But lifting a vehicle is not necessarily safe. So and then again, there's issues with tires. Your tires have to be covered by a fender and or mud flaps. People tend to get into trouble when they mess around with ride heights. We haven't actually lost Instagram. We're losing Instagram. My bad. Why don't we have an Autobahn if it's safer? Very interesting question about Autobahn. Well, first of all, Autobahn in populated areas, which is where we are in the city of Toronto and for much of Ontario, the populated areas of the Autobahn have speed limits ranging from 80 to 130 kilometers an hour. Of the collisions that occur on the Autobahn, approximately 68% of the deaths that occur on the Autobahn are in the unregulated speed areas. So I've read some very interesting things about the Autobahn, and I've driven on the Autobahn personally. I don't feel safe on the Autobahn. I was being stopped like I wasn't moving in my Renault hatchback that I rented. I don't know how it's safer if statistics are suggesting it is. But it was 2008, there's like 650 deaths that they were evaluating, and 68% of those took place on the unregulated high-speed areas of the Autobahn. So going fast makes for big collisions and big debris fields and massively destructive collisions. There may be less of them compared to the United States because statistically I believe that there are more deaths and collisions in the United States, and Canada for that matter. But here's something to consider, and I don't think many people put a lot of weight on this. Getting a driver's license in Europe is more work than getting a license in Canada. Or in the United States for that matter. It is harder. There are more restrictions. There are greater tests. It is not easy. So likely they have a better driving pool. The pool of drivers are most likely higher skilled, which contributes to it. But this is something that's ongoing research that I'm doing on my own because I'm curious because I get so many questions about the Autobahn. But we'll talk more about it. Maybe we'll have somebody from Germany to come down and we'll talk about the Autobahn, and they can tell us all about why it's better. But it's a good question. It's always a good question. I like all these questions. A lot of folks who are talking about the recent change on a few highways or stretches of road in Ontario that are allowing a 10-kilometer-an-hour bump. Apparently, those sections of highway are safe for those speeds. So they've allowed the 10-kilometer bump. But on the 400, is it 400 or 404? It equates to 16 kilometers of road. Like, we're not talking about the entire highway is faster now. It is 16 kilometers an hour. 16 kilometers stretch of road. And it's going to be interesting to see if people just go 10 kilometers faster than they were already doing. So folks who are breaking the law and going 20 over or 30 over, will they now go what would be 40 over now? It'll just be only 30 over? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say we've wrapped up yet another show. It has been a pleasure. We do this again. We will do this again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Because we like this stuff where we get to engage with the public and answer your traffic and police questions. So if you think of anything from now till then, either throw it in a comment in one of the videos that we post, or save it for tomorrow and get in early, get in first, and we'll get to you hopefully during the hour.
Stay safe out there, folks, and have a great day.
Take care.
Oh, even Aaron says, hey, how about Q? You got some wise words for the folks?
No.
No.
I'm kidding. Be safe, everyone.
I will say this. Sebastian says, can I change the sound of my horn? You want to make it sound like an air horn, a duck? What kind of thing? Quack, quack? I did notice that with Teslas, you can put in some funny stuff. Fog horns?
No, sorry. You can put a fart noise in, like, not as your horn, but like you can.
Well, this quality of this show just went downhill quick.
Yeah, like in the seat, like the passenger or driver seat, you can like press a button and it'll be like.
Well, I got sound effects.
Kinda, yeah.
All right, with that, let's do this countdown.
10, 9, 8,